Michelle, and this is my soon-to-be son-in-law, Avery. And we both love to cook, but we know there's a lot of people out there who are uncomfortable in the kitchen. They're confused about how to cook healthy food. They think they don't have enough time to cook, so they don't sit down to the table and share a meal with family and friends. And they end up picking up unhealthy food on the run.
Well, we are here to change all of that. We're going to show you how to cook quick, healthy, everyday food so that you can be confident in the kitchen and have more memories around the table with the people that you love. You've got this, so let's get started.
Hey there guys, all right, we have such a special treat for you today. Not only are you getting Avery and I on the Fresh table, who you typically see as the host, but we also have my daughter Danica, my husband Jeff, who are going to be joining us in the cooking part of it. And then this is my son Neil, and he's going to be the moderator, okay? So he's going to start us off by flipping a coin to decide if it's Danica and I competing against the guys or if it's couples against couples. Let's see what happens here. So heads, it's...
Excellent. Heads, it will be couples. Tails, it will be genders. This is the Blue Ridge, North Carolina quarter. It's genders.
Okay, Avery.
Come here, Danica. Oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. All right, so Neil, I want you to go through and tell them every ingredient that we have and how this is all going to work.
Excellent. So here we have some coconut milk. We have cornmeal. We have cilantro, tomatoes, orzo, some soy sauce, green onions. We have garlic. We have peppers. We have tarragon, not to be confused with the modern classic Aragon. We have powder greens, lime, cucumbers, chorizo, salmon, and chicken.
All right, so here's how it works. Avery and I are going to take turns picking an ingredient. Then we have to use every ingredient that we end up with, okay? So that honestly, guys, we don't know what we're doing right now. We just got our teams. We don't know what ingredients we're going to end up with. This is not like oh, let's pretend this is the real deal, okay? So flip a coin to see if Avery or I choose the first ingredient.
I call tails.
Excellent. If it's tails, the gentleman will be choosing first.
Come on.
It's tails.
Yeah.
Okay.
Salmon.
Salmon.
Orzo,
Polenta.
chicken,
Soy sauce.
chorizo,
Coconut milk.
Ooh, nicely done.
tomatoes,
Lime.
Yes.
garlic,
Green onion.
red pepper,
Greens.
parsley,
Tarragon and cucumber are left.
I want
zucchini.
Zucchini.
tarragon.
And we will take the zucchini. Okay.
Well done.
So now we're going to just have some time to kind of talk amongst ourselves, figure out what we're doing, and we're going to dive in. Maybe, Neil, you can tell them a story while we start.
Excellent.
I'm just setting myself up for
Sear
trouble
the
by
salmon.
offering him that. Okay.
Polenta.
All right. Let's start with
So let's talk about the ingredients. Salmon is a fish.
We all get to use olive oil, broth, salt, and pepper. Okay?
Yeah, so each team is able to use salt, pepper, olive oil, and broth. We have over here the gentleman warming up some pots to cook. I'm not sure what they're going to do with it yet. Avery's an interesting chef. He may not look like much upon first look, but he has a clean left-hand cut, and he's been known to sear all things that are dead.
All right, so here's what I'm doing so far. Danica and I are off. We've got some strategy here. We are thinking that we're going Italian, a little Italian here. So I've got, first of all, some olive oil getting hot because I want to make my pan hot. And then we're also doing some orzo over here that I put into some water. Orzo is like a pasta. It's a small noodle. All right, guys, share what you're doing.
All right, we're gonna go Asian style. We're gonna sear the salmon, of course, perfectly. Nice crispy skin on the bottom, a nice little sear on top. It's on top of a bed of this polenta that we're gonna add a few herbs and onions in. Not normally associated with some Asian food, but we're gonna make it amazing. And then on top of that will be a little bit of like these really hot braised greens with a little soy sauce. It's gonna have a little creamy coconut sauce, a little bit of lime in there. It's actually gonna be amazing.
All right, now I'm switching now to some chorizo. If you've not worked with chorizo, this one, I just cut the tip off and I'm going to squeeze some of it into a pan. It gives it a little bit of a Spanish, almost maybe Spanish-Italian type taste in there. I'm going to squeeze that in and get a little bit of that flavor imparted into our food.
How will we know who wins?
Oh, the camera guys and my good friend Eileen and Neil are going to decide who's going to win.
All right,
Okay,
you want to chop these super thin. Tuck your fingertips in, of course. Use a sharp knife. We'll just chop them really thin, and I'll give you something to put them on.
Okay.
So when you're searing fish, we've probably said this a million times on here, but of course, if you're going to handle raw meat, you got to be really careful about washing your hands and making sure you're not touching and cross-contaminating. I'm going to set this away from me. I'm going to put the tip down and then point it away from me. And what that does is it keeps oil from splashing on top of me. I'm going to get a nice sear, about 2 or 3 minutes on each side, about a 7 or 8 heat. I want it to be medium high. And then I'm basically just creating a base, adding the greens, and then the fish will go on top. What that does is I'm trying to get when I'm cooking, I want a variation of flavor. So I want the creamy and richness that comes with this coconut milk, as well as the bite of citrus, as well as the kind of acidity and harsh flavor that comes with a fresh onion that hasn't been cooked. And when you do those really well, somehow the best dishes balance these different levels of flavor. So you've got the richness mixed with acidity, and you've got maybe a slight bitter taste mixed with something sweet.
He's all talk but no action, man. I've already got so much going on here. I have my chicken going, my chorizo going. My good helper over there is chopping up now some yellow pepper. We are rocking and rolling here.
So that's right. You can hear Avery talking about how you want that full palate flavor. You want bitterness, umami. You want some spice. You want savory. And when you bring those together, it does complement for a better dish. So here we have that polenta heating up. It looks like the women are doing some diced chicken breast with the chorizo, letting that heat up a little bit as well. They're starting to sear on the salmon and adding some vegetable broth to that polenta to give it that desired thickness. You don't need too much there. Along with some coconut milk. That'll be good. That'll be good. Let's see what the women have. They're dicing up some peppers and some garlic. A good Italian dish will come with with garlic and peppers. Those two things can't go untouched when cooking Italian.
And do some salt and pepper in the polenta as well.
Okay.
So based on how much liquid you put in polenta or grits, they're amazing. Sometimes they come in prepackaged tubes. I really like it when you make it on your own. It's usually 1 part grits or polenta, that ground cornmeal, to 3 parts liquid, depending on how thick you would like it to be. I want it to be pretty thick because it's going to be the base of my dish. It's also good to start thinking about at the very beginning some of the garnish that you want to do. So I'm already envisioning that some of these green onions I'll leave whole, as well as some of this coconut milk to kind of do a drizzle around the top. It may not be a Michelin star looking dish by any stretch of the imagination, but it'll look nice because you're going to start eating with your eyes. So yeah. I'm picking off some of this tarragon. I just want to get it off the stem. You can use a little of that, but it's pretty woodsy and piney, and I don't want a ton of that flavor. But I want to have different kind of notes of this. I want fresh on top as well as some mixed in as it cooks along, and that will give me a little bit more complexity of flavor.
All right, so we just started making a different little twist here all of a sudden. I have garlic, which I love garlic, but if you roast garlic, it gives it a different flavor. So we're going to put the garlic in some olive oil, get it roasting, and then make up a pesto. We've got some parsley over there that we're going to use, and some garlic, and a little bit of olive oil and broth, and make similar to a pesto. Yeah.
Now, if I had a zester, I think it's always a good idea to zest your citrus. It gets so much more flavor. I don't think I have one right now, so I'll just make do. I'm going to leave some of this tarragon for the polenta.
Michelle's trying to steal our
All right,
pan.
I was running out of space. Okay, no. Right there we go. There it is.
Fierce competition. I think the best thing right now is if you want to make sure that we have a plate to put that on.
Okay.
Let's not use this guy.
All right, I've got my pepper going in here. So now chicken, chorizo, peppers. You can see where I'm going with this, can't you? I'm keeping my garlic off to the side because, again, I'm going to put that into a pesto. and I'm just going to toss it to soften it a little bit, get a little bit of a roasted flavor in there. We're going to toss in our zucchini, and then we have almost all of our base done. My orzo, what I like about orzo, it's a very fast cooking pasta. So it's just about done here. We're going to have a little bit of pasta in there with it. But of course I can't get away from my healthy side, so the pasta is going to be just more of an accent and not the main focus here. Too often we put the carb as the focus in our pastas rather than all the other great flavors and things that we can do.
All right, so I have to use all of my ingredients, so I've got to work this soy sauce in. At the end of the salmon, I'm going to put some of that as well. If you want to squeeze over a big old chunk of lime on top of the salmon, I'll show everybody the polenta.
So Avery, how are you thinking about making this creamy sauce for the salmon with the coconut?
So at the end, as the salmon's just about to be done, put a lot of lime on top, a lot of the coconut milk, a little bit of that broth, and that'll give me a nice rich sauce. I'm already thinking ahead to the decor garnish, so I've got a little lime wedge right there. I'll do some green onions. I'm going to toss a few in here. Always taste as you go. Let's see what it tastes like.
Oh, wow.
How's the taste? Good?
I think a little bit more coconutty.
We don't need too much for the sauce.
Good consistency.
So this will get a lot more firm as it sets. If you have like fresh ground, it'll take like 30 minutes to make. If you have more of like an instant, again, it'll be done in 5 minutes. I want to add a few more of these guys. We'll sit.
Flip the salmon now, you think?
Yeah. You can turn it down as well. To like 4.
4?
Okay.
So you see,
So now
oh
the-
my gosh.
Now the women are adding in their zucchini and tomatoes,
So for my
their peppers and chicken.
Neil, what do you think? Neil's actually a really good cook here. He has had to cook a lot in college and everything, so he's really getting to his own. He might be taking over, Avery.
We'll
You better
see.
watch out. So, you know, for a good pesto, I would have a couple other things like some cheese and some nuts, but I'm just going to do the parsley, olive oil, broth, and then that roasted garlic.
Ooh, that's a
right.
good idea.
Typically, pesto will have some pine nuts, a little bit of olive oil, of course, basil, onion, garlic, some salt. But she's making do with what she has to bring this, hopefully, authentic Italian dish together with more of a parsley-based pesto.
I always want to stay clean when I'm cooking. That helps a lot. So you can see on that salmon, it got pretty crispy. That's my bad. We weren't watching it as much. That's totally fine. Because what happens, if this happens, the skin peels right off. You can see the smoke coming up. It's a nice hot pan. But you can also feel about when it's done just by the feel of it. I say we got like 20 more seconds on that, and then let's put it on a plate,
Okay.
and
we'll take that skin off.
Okay.
And even though time is of the essence here, even though he just tries to step in front of me all the time. Even though time is of the essence here, I still want to roast that garlic because I believe it's going to make that big a difference to have that garlic kind of a browned flavor to it. Denica's over there, and she's working on her tomatoes over there. But what we're doing is de-seeding the tomatoes. I don't want a lot of liquid coming in from those tomatoes, so she's being kind, taking the seeds out. Kind of a funny story about Denica. One time I was making this huge dish, and I had all these tomatoes, and I was de-seeding them. And as I was de-seeding them, I put them into this glass container just to get them out of the way. And she was about 4 years old, and she walked into the room, and I didn't see it, but she picked up the seeds that I had just taken out of the tomatoes and drank them all, like cups of seeds, because it was so funny. Hey,
Saving them here so I can eat them.
yeah, she probably wants to eat them later again. All
That
right.
is one of the many interesting stories of Denica's childhood involving various fruit and vegetable-based products.
Stories are limitless with Denica.
Do you count, Neil, in the judging of the food? You get to taste it?
I am. So I'll be judging the food here. I mean, to put it modestly, I have a developed palate when it comes to food. So here we have that coconut sauce cooking up. We have the garlic being added into the pesto, that parsley-based pesto, and it looks like they're going to use a little blender to get that going.
And I'm taking a little bit of the juice that came off of my the chorizo, because that gives a nice little extra zip into my pesto. All right, so we'll stir that around. We've also put in the zucchini to this as well. Oops.
Did we mention that Denica's #1 strength is competition?
It's gonna be fierce.
So with salmon, you can tell when it's started to get cooked, when it starts to ooze that whiter material and it becomes a little bit more flaky, so you can see they have that there.
You can also, I like to recommend to use a thermometer. I've gotten to the point where I can kind of tell when a lot of the proteins are done just by the way that they feel. There's a lot of gauges if you look like on other places on YouTube where if it feels like this kind of part of your hand, it's a little probably too done. If it's about right here, that's about medium. And then if it's about this part of your hand, that's kind of rare. That's not a very good gauge if you don't feel really comfortable and have cooked a lot. It's better to use the thermometer. And it's also, make sure you check the guides of the temperature that it should be internally. Yeah. The pesto looks amazing. I'm not gonna lie. All right, so I'm thinking we do grits,
Eileen, what's the time check?
a little bit of the sauce around the side so it looks really beautiful.
Okay.
And then we'll do, oh, we gotta saute these. So if you wanna saute these actually in that sauce a little bit, just do like half, yeah.
Guys, we have about 9 minutes left.
We actually might be done early. We might put our feet up and have a glass of water and wait on you guys, I guess.
We have that orzo base with the ladies. That's nearly done. Just gonna let that sit a little bit longer and evaporate some more liquid. We're gonna add some broth.
You're just letting it saute a little bit. All right. So
Hiding the broth in the corner.
Oh, you need some?
Here, we've got some more if you need some broth. We're just kind of making a little bit more of a liquidy pesto. There we go. So is this something you guys, think about it. You have a party at your home. Why not do something like this? Why sit around and just like play cards when you can have cooking competitions, right? It's the newest form of entertainment. Neil? Twist.
I want to make sure as well that I'm tasting as I go. So we tasted the polenta, tasted great. We added a little more coconut milk to make it a little creamier. And with the sauce that we're doing, it's really light. We have a little bit of the coconut milk. I want to save just a touch for the garnish of this, but then I also just want to make sure that I can always add more, but I cannot take anything away.
Could you speak to the importance of technique in cooking, especially proteins, Avery?
You can make something really, maybe not the highest end product in the world, different cuts of beef especially. You can make them much, much better if you know how to cook them properly. And also look at the type of dish that you're trying to do. So many, like, think French or a lot of Asian type dishes require a lot of technique, whereas like Italian dishes, a lot of ones in the US kind of that originate from here are more like ingredient driven, where the focus is on, like, think about like a caprese salad in Italy. It's just like 4 ingredients, tomatoes, cheese, basil, a little oil and balsamic. You don't really do anything to them, you just chop them up and put them on a plate. And I think that's where the difference between a lot of the cultures comes. And as you start cooking, I would cook some Italian type dishes first, and then as you work up, you can do some of the more technical French style kind of things. It's always good to have something to master. That's why people like work their way through a cookbook, because then they can develop these other techniques. And then you just got them in your back pocket. Like once you've made a dish 3 or 4 times, you've got it down pretty much.
That's right.
All right, so we are just about done as well over here. We're getting there. Eileen, time?
18 and a half minutes in.
I think it looks absolutely perfect.
So what we're going to do here then, guys, is we are within the next 5 minutes, we're going to be plating these dishes, and we're going to then cut the camera for a little bit, and so that the judges can tell whose was the best. That's what's going to happen next, right, Neil?
That's right. We're going to have the cameraman, Eileen, our designer and costume director, and myself tasting these dishes.
All right. I've got my beautiful base. I want to make it into a nice circle right there, kind of in the middle.
I can say that being Michelle's son for 21 years, appearance in food is not her main priority. but however, I will say the taste is usually exceptional.
How about healthy?
And healthy as well, fresh ingredients, organic products, that is true.
I mean, aren't these two kids the picture of health? Huh? Look at this guy. So healthy eating pays off. So one of the things that I just have to brag on my kids for a second over here. Denica, like one of the greatest humans that's ever walked the earth. I mean, I don't know if that's like overdoing it or anything like that, but I absolutely love her, and she is a great sous chef. Her and Avery, I mean, you guys have tons of fun cooking together and all that. And Neil, over there, our boy, he just graduated from college, and okay, I know you're not supposed to have any pride, but I'm just saying, he worked so hard. He graduated in 3 years with all A's, and he's going to go on, and I don't know what you're going to do next, but it's going to be big. He has a biblical studies degree, and hopefully he says he's going to do something either as a pastor, professor. Tell him, what do you think you're going to end up with, Neil?
Yeah, so I'll be going to seminary or graduate school, and then I'm not sure if I'll be going into more of a pastorate position, but a professor role. But yeah, that's correct. Doing something with theology in the church. So here we're going to start adding the garnishes to the salmon. Just some green onions, and then Avery had prepared that lime garnish earlier. You start this plate with the eyes, and it slowly moves elsewhere. It kind of beckons you in like a book with a good cover, as deceitful as it can be.
All right, yours is ready, guys?
So we just added that parsley-based pesto sauce to the orzo and peppers and zucchini, and they're going to let some of that liquid evaporate as they stir that on that cast iron pan.
Avery, I don't know how you do this without me. Seriously. I mean, I feel so bad for you. I'm just letting you, flex some of your muscles.
I spent most of the time talking.
Jeff's a good sous chef too. He really is. He'll come in the kitchen, and I'm okay with it because I'm kind of a controlling person in the kitchen, and so he's really good because he'll eat anything, and he's always complimentary.
Yes.
And just a little thing, Jeff, if you haven't read it yet, you guys need to get the book, The Joy Model. I'm just like blatantly pushing things here, guys. Jeff, tell them what the Joy Model's about.
The Joy Model, it's a book about how to find peace and joy. So many Christians, they read about peace and joy and happiness and goodness, and when you think about all the different fruits of the Spirit, but they're not experiencing any of it. And so they're wondering, what is missing? And so my book helps a person decipher that code that Jesus promised for all of us. So go check it out, The Joy Model.
Okay.
That's great. All right, here we have the two dishes. We have the polenta salmon, and we have the orzo chorizo chicken. Now, tell us what you did with these. What is the goal you want the consumer to have in this?
Denica, do you want me to say it or do you? So for this dish, what I really like about it is we're going to have a little bit of that spiciness from the chorizo, and then, but in addition, the peppers, like when you have a red pepper, it can add a sweetness to it. So there's going to be a lot of flavors in each bite. It's also very, very healthy. We've got the zucchini, the tomatoes that are still fresh and crisp in there, and it's a light dish. You could do it with just a salad and be done for your meal. So there we go, and that looks beautiful too, but it's unfortunate it won't taste as good, so that's okay.
We'll have to see. We'll let the judges decide. So
That's right.
you saw over there that Jeff stirred in all these good ingredients, the broth, the coconut milk, with all that within the polenta. It's a nice thick consistency. It'll be nice and rich. So he cooked those greens and a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of the coconut milk, some green onions. They were amazing. And then he also perfectly cooked that salmon. So when I plated it, you kind of did all the dirty work, the hard work. We took the skin off so you don't have to fiddle with that. It's got a nice sear on the top, a little bit of those bitter flavors, and then it should have a nice kick of lime. And hey, they both look pretty good.
Great. Jeff is a testament to the old Chinese proverb, for those who don't cook, stir.
I think it's time to taste.
All right, so we'll come right back, and we're gonna let these guys come and taste for a second.
All right, welcome back. The judges have finished deciding on which dish they thought was the best. As you can see, we clearly devoured both of these dishes. The orzo with the spice was excellent. It really was a full flavor. The polenta with the power greens and the coconut was such a unique flavor, accompanied with the salmon. It was really close. The appearance on the salmon looked great. Good vegetables here with the orzo. And it was a very hard decision for us judges. However, we decided that the salmon and the polenta coconut takes the plate, quite literally. It actually had to come down to the appearance because we thought that the taste was equivalent. So the appearance had to be the deciding factor. You start a meal with your eyes. Yep.
That's what I'm talking about.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Good.
Well done.
Good. All right, guys, that was kind of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know if you enjoyed it, because we can do it again when we film. We sure had fun doing it. But I also wanted to let you know, this morning we left at 5-something in the morning to drive out to where we're filming right now. And Neil was in the car with Eileen and Jeff and I, and we're just talking about, what is the Bible? What does Jesus have to say about really sitting down to a meal? Because we want to really present things from what he would say about and what his thoughts were, because he's the guy we're trying to follow. So Neil had brought up a couple of things that I've just asked him to share a couple of things with you.
Yeah, so with food in Christianity, in the early church, late 1st century, early 2nd century, just when the ball was getting rolling there, they would actually gather in catacombs, the early church would, and after a short sermon usually, they would have what's called a love feast. We would just call this communion, but for them they were quite literally feasting various foods, bread, wine, and they would all come together and they would commune in these catacombs to hide from Roman persecution. And it's this beautiful idea that food has this intrinsic nature to bring people and cultures together and bind one another in a common pleasure. And I think we need to continue to chase after that as Christians.
Yeah, and so often, and we were talking about, I think Jeff, you said, too often as Christians, we're kind of living like it's Good Friday instead of Easter. Like, celebrate. I mean, back then, when they were getting together, they were literally fearful of their life, but they were celebrating. They were having a love feast, and they were still gathering. And there's such power in celebrating life, to be just like full of life and getting together with people. You don't need to have like it be Christmas in order to get together with a bunch of people and make a fun meal together. So celebrate life around a table with people you love, people maybe you don't even know yet, but you want to get to love them. So bring them into your home. And I just have to do one last thing here, guys, and it's to tell you about the website. We have a free online program. If you like what you're seeing here, you can watch every single episode of The Fresh Table there. Plus, we have over 200 exercise videos because, as you know, eating healthy is part of our journey to better health, but there's also exercise. And in addition, we bring the Bible into every single thing we do, because that's what we do here at Faithful Workouts and The Fresh Table. So thanks for being with us. Awesome job. I think they paid the judges, just saying. Yeah. See you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.